and welcome, welcome, welcome. You are tuned into GameFace. I am your host, Richard the Razor Ewing, with my other host, Mike the Shoe Shumann. We do this every week, and if you are trying to build a better crib for your baby, you are on the wrong podcast. And if you are trying to figure out how to dye your roots of your gray hair, you are on the wrong podcast. However, you are trying to get insight into Bay Area sports and you need insight into sports on a national level, you just put your game face on. Welcome. As I said before, I am Richard the Razor Ewing. I'm on with Mike the Shoe Shumann. Mike, who we got?
Well, we've got a legend joining us today. And well, I kind of measure people's greatness after they finish by, for instance, if I was going to talk about the Oakland Raiders of the 60s and 70s and the AFL, you couldn't talk about those teams without mentioning Freddie Belitnokoff.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, you say Raiders in the 60s, you're thinking Al Davis, the Snake, and Freddie B. You know, and then Tatum and Atkinson came later. And joining us today is a dear friend, a longtime great with the Oakland Raiders, 65 to 78. And then I followed him. I came to the Bay Area in 78. And unfortunately for me, I've been compared to him my whole career. I followed him at Florida State. And I've always told Freddie he ruined my career because how can I live up to that? All right, number one, because Bobby Bowden was his receiver coach at Florida State, and he was my head coach my last year. So it's an honor just to be compared to him, you know, but of course I never lived up to those expectations. But Freddie, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, both you, Richard, you and Mike, okay? I'll tell you what, it's a pleasure for me to be here tonight, believe me.
All right, one of our
We've
favorite
already had
guests.
some fun before this, okay? So let's roll.
Yeah.
Rolling.
Hey, now I'm looking at your background. You know, four-time All-Pro. He was a Hall of Famer. You know, he won the MVP in Super Bowl 11. He played in 2 Super Bowls. He played in the second one against the Packers. And I kind of forgot back in your day in '65 when you came out, you got drafted by the NFL and the AFL.
Right.
So you went to the Raiders in the second round, Detroit Lions in the third round. And, you know, Detroit was a happening city back then. So you can't say, you know, Detroit was an armpit. Why did you choose the Raiders over Detroit? Because you're from Erie, Pennsylvania. You know?
Look at the snowfall.
There you go.
No, you know what? It was the fact of this. It was Detroit at that time. Warren Wells was there as a rookie when I went up there to visit out of Florida State. They had Terry
in Detroit?
Barr, they had Terry Barr, Gail Cogdill, and the one thing that attracted me to the Raiders is because of the fact that they threw the ball 50 sometimes a game.
That's true.
You know, and that's basically the one. And then with Al Davis's influence, you know, I decided to head out to California because coming out of Erie, Pennsylvania at the time, I, you know, made the transition from, you know, coming from one part of the country, the northeastern part of the country, okay, going down south, being in Tallahassee for all those years. And then I said, well, what the hell? I'll go to California. Why not? I might as well make the turn, you know, might as well go all the way out. And I got the opportunity to be in 3 different parts of the country and going out to California and being with Al and with the Raiders because the AFL was just starting. They're throwing the ball. You know, you're throwing the ball all the time. You know, your running backs caught a lot of passes at that period of time. So I decided to go out to California.
3 pretty good quarterbacks too: Tom Flores, Daryl
yeah.
Monica, and Ken Stabler.
Yeah.
Flores up for the Hall of Fame this year. He's a finalist. Hopefully he'll get in.
Well, finally they got smart enough on this committee back there that they looked at a coach that did so much for the Raiders as a head coach, and then even you go back to Super Bowl 11 when we played, Tom had a lot more influence on a team than people realized because he was the offensive coordinator, even though Al never had anybody a title when we went to the Super Bowl. And Tom was with us through all that period of time. So Tom's influence as a coach was unbelievable. And I've always said, You know, I get tired of seeing all these players and coaches that are on TV broadcasting, getting in the Hall of Fame. And here's Tom sitting there, and even guys like Jim Plunkett, even like Cliff's, well, Cliff is passed now, but guys like that, it's like, I don't know what the hell this committee does as far as voting. I remember years ago, you know, there was an influence from every city because they had somebody in the media that really went after it for the person on your team that you were representing in media. I don't know if they do that anymore, but the way the selection committee is right now, you know, I have no hesitation to say they suck.
No, I agree.
They suck.
No, they put Bill Cowher and Jimmy Johnson in because I can't remember the gentleman's name who comes and tell you that you got in, but they did it on the set on national TV. So this gives the Hall of Fame all kind of, you know, whereas Tom Flores, as Freddie just mentioned, you know, he's not on TV. He's not doing anything like that. So
Exactly.
I agree with you. I think that was chicken.
Well,
you know,
see, here's my spin on the Hall of Fame, and I truly, really mean it from my heart. The Hall of Fame to me is this: people that played the game, that actually were out on the field playing the game. Now, over the years, it's got so diluted. They started with administration, then they went to scouts, then they went to head coaches. Next, they'll go to the referees. Next, they'll go to whoever. And and that's all fine with me, but have a separate part of the Hall of Fame for that type of group. If you want to be in a Hall of Fame right now, get yourself $10 million, build a building over there, put your name on it, you'll be in a Hall of Fame in 2 years.
Wow.
Okay.
Now,
Well, good to know.
So I think that the Hall of Fame has got so diluted, it's taken a luster out. Now, if you would go back, which I haven't done that type of research, okay, and go back, say, 10 years ago, and counted everybody that was a non-player getting in a Hall of Fame, how many guys that are still waiting to get in the Hall of Fame could actually have been into the Hall of Fame as a player?
Like Cliff
It would be a
Branch.
joke. I think it would be a joke. And I think it's totally ridiculous. I mean, I'm totally against the way they have it now. And I'm all for all these other people. I call them the other people getting in. Have your own induction. Have your own Hall of Fame. That's fine with me. But don't interfere with players. And that's what they've done.
That's a great point.
Now, let me ask you something, Fred, because this is the thing, you know, there's a lot of, I hate to say this, but, you know, and I don't want to sound, distinctive or anything about this, but there's a lot of millennials that don't understand that, hey, you're part of a very unique core of individuals who played the game and played for the Raiders, and you're part of what's considered to be that Raider mystique. It's like when I think of the Raider mystique, I think of yourself, of course, and I think of, you know, guys like, you know, Ken Slaver, you know, Dave Casper the Ghost, and, you know, Otis Sinstruck, those guys, man, those guys. I tell you something, Otis Sinstruck, in my opinion, I saw that guy, and I was like, man, are you serious? It's like, are you really going to put somebody on the field to play against that guy? But let me ask you, did you guys think that this would be as big as it became, okay, the way it has at that time? Or were you guys just fell out just like, look, you know what, we're going to go out here, we're going to play Raider football, and we're going to leave it all out there on the field?
You're talking about the Raiders?
Yeah,
or
about the Raiders as a whole.
About the Raiders as a whole?
Yeah. Because
no, you know what? We were a group of guys that I'll tell you what, there probably weren't too many people. There were probably a small percentage on all the 14 years I played on with the Raiders, okay, that actually, before they came to the Raiders, actually could do anything they want to do. If they didn't get into professional football, they would be fine. Then here's a group of guys that were dying to get professional football because that's just who they were. Okay, they were players. Basically a lot of a big percentage came from tough backgrounds, small colleges, a lot of growing up deals that they went through all their life, okay, and had a chance to play professional football. And our team, for basically the 14 years I was there, were filled with all those guys. And it didn't matter who Al brought in, who Al drafted, picked up off a free agency or the waiver wire or whatever came in, he brought guys in to fit in with the group he had. And we're nothing but this. We all wanted to win. And we were determined to go out there and just win. And that's what we wanted to do. And we all had that chip on our shoulder. We all had that hatred that we hated everybody, okay? But we got along together, all right? And our team was so diversified with no matter who it was, that we all got along. It was like the Dirty Dozen.
Right. That's, to your point about the Dirty Dozen, that is what I kind of saw you guys back then. I thought, you know what? These guys are just a group of guys where, you know what? They have we don't care. We're coming out to give you our best. And guess what? Win or lose, you're going to know you played the Raiders by the time the game was over. That was it. I mean, and I tell you something, I was telling Mike, I had one of those stickers. And I'll tell you something, it's hard for me, Fred, because I live here in the Bay Area. I'm a diehard Niner fan. But I could not ignore what the Raiders were doing. It was just like, as much as I wanted to be a Niner fan, it was like, man, the Raiders, what they were doing was just, it was, in my opinion, it was separate from what the NFL was doing. You know what I mean? It was like when you guys went on the field, it was like, okay, guess what? I don't care what team you liked, you had to pay attention to the Raiders. They made you pay attention to them. That was the one thing I always respected about that nation.
We were like the neighborhood gang.
Right. Right. It's like
that's what we were. We're like the neighborhood gang.
If you turn the corner and you make that turn, oh, there's a neighborhood gang. Okay.
That's it.
That's it. And focus on them because you know what they're capable of and what they can do. So.
And you know what? The one thing I loved about the years playing with the Raiders and all the guys I played with, you know, you can go in, you hate it to lose and all that stuff and all that BS, whatever. But when you went on the field, you hated the people you were playing against. All right? You didn't want to say hello to them before the game or shake hands with them after the game. If you won, great. We're going on to the next week. If you lost, you looked at them and said, I'll be waiting for your ass in Oakland. Okay, I'll have my ass back here in Denver. Don't worry, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Okay, that's how you left the field. Now I don't know what the hell they have parades and all that crap now when they go off the field. Okay, whatever they do, you know. But that's the type of team we were. Everybody was tough. Nobody took anything from anybody out there on the field, and that was the makeup of our team.
Yeah.
All right, I got to do a little business here. The wait is finally over, guys. Football is back. You might not be at the game this year, but you can still be on the action on Bet Online. I've already got my bets down for the first games of the year. I'm taking the Raiders and the Cardinals. All right, from game spreads and player and coaching props, Bet Online gives you more options to wager than any place online. There's always the online casino as well. It never closes. So head to betonline.ag today and take advantage of all great sign-up bonuses. Again, that's betonline, one word, .ag, and sign up today. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. And get back to that.
So you're into the betting.
Wait a minute. I have got to point this out. I have got to point this out.
Yeah.
This man just said on GameFace, when we cover Bears sports, that he's taking the Cardinals and he's wearing a Niner shirt. Let's keep that real right here. Let's keep that real.
Hey, Mike has always been in the closet.
Well, this is another thing, Fred. Without mini camps, OTAs, I think you're going to have a lot of pulled hamstrings, pulled calves early in games. So we're going to see a lot of injuries I think you normally would not have seen because you have preseason games. These guys haven't even really been hit yet. So what's your feeling about, first of all, do you think we should be playing football with the COVID virus?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
What the hell?
Right.
Hey, listen, all the things we've been through all the years, all these guys go through, hell, you might catch anything.
Yeah, that's true.
You'd be lucky if you had COVID. Okay.
Well, not the same things we were catching back then, but
still, okay. But no, you know what? I look at it as this, okay? Finally, all the years that you keep hearing bigger, faster, this, that, and all that. And then you're watching the game, guys are getting concussions. They have better helmets, better shoulder pads on. Guys are getting hurt. Well, I've never seen more guys get hurt. All the 14 years I played, guys got hurt, but not these guys fall like flies. Okay. But now they have all the drinks, all the food, all the facility, all this, all that. Okay. And they're still getting hurt. Okay. Yeah. Then you go back to the years, and you caught part of it in your career. It was the fact that, you know, we had no off-season programs. You went right to
one minute camp.
And you strapped it on and let's go. I mean, you didn't walk in training camp in July, and you know you're going to be there for two full months and say, okay, we're taking 1 week just to work out, get loosened up. No, you're right into it. You're hitting the first day. You know, so now these guys have had that, not the hitting, but that problem of, okay, they're coming, you don't have this time, you know, that. Well, get your ass in shape. Okay, whatever you got to do. So now you got to come in shape. When a gun goes off, you got to go. So
there were 6 preseason games back then. 6 preseason.
Oh yeah,
games.
You had to go through all that, and then you go back. You go back to camp. You have 2 days anyway. You didn't go back to one. You went back to 2 days. So you're working the whole time. So I want to see how these guys operate there. And there's already guys falling off the limb now with Achilles, hamstrings, all this stuff. They're getting tired after 3 weeks running around in shorts. Are you kidding me?
You know, it's funny that you bring that up because, you know, we found out today that, you know, Adrian Peterson did get released and he got picked up by Detroit.
Yeah.
And, you know, we also saw what Shu and I have been talking about the last couple of weeks, and what the league has been talking about is that the days of the way the league was run and the way players were used is totally changed. For instance, the fact that the running back position has been devalued, which I can't get my head around that whole thing. I can't, because I look at what Shanahan did last year with the running back position, and to me, that should have sent a message to the league that, hey, you know what? The idea of what you guys are doing is wrong, because you look at what it's doing for their offense, okay? Mm-hmm. Do you think that this is something that's going to continue to move forward, or do you think that maybe the league will maybe reevaluate this whole idea of the devalue of the running back?
Oh, no. I'll tell you what. I don't understand why people don't, why that position went downhill, money-wise. You know, I think that should be one of the prime positions, because I don't care where you're at. You cannot play without a running back. You cannot play without a running back. Even if it's just one back in a back, you got to play with a running back.
Right.
You know, and that person still has to do everything that an offensive lineman has to do. He has to pass protect. He has to do this. He has to go out. He has to be a receiver. He has to do everything in that backfield to protect the quarterback. And he's the one that has to know that, hell, if he's on one side and you guys seen it, man, he's got to read the whole defense. He may have to come all the way across the formation to pick up the guy on the other side blitzing that they don't have the protection going to. So that guy's got to be the smartest guy other than the quarterback when he lines up in the backfield. And then when you're out in the field, you got to have the other back in there. I mean, it's crazy, but you know what? Things go in circles all the time. All right. Now the tight end is the main thing. Okay, well, you tell me one person that can cover a tight end in a league, man to man, there's nobody. I don't care who they put out there. A safety. Okay? There's no safety to cover any 3 of these tight ends right now. You know, you take from San Francisco, you take Kansas City, even the kid Waller from the Raiders. Those guys don't cover anybody man to man. Okay, so now what do? So now they're the focus. All right? So now that takes away from running back. So now that gets devalued. All right? So now you bring the slot receivers in. Now the running back gets devalued because now he's not the guy coming out of the backfield. But like when I played, you had guys like Clem Daniels, Charlie Smith,
Mark Van Egan.
Yeah, Mark Van Egan, Charlie that played with us when I was coaching. Oh Jesus, that came from the Eagles with John. God, I can't remember Charlie's last name. I just had it. I was just thinking about it.
I did too. Not Whittingham. It was
no. Played with. Yeah, he was with us when I was coaching.
Right.
Oh, Jesus. But he was a stud coming out of the backfield.
Right.
I mean, it's
Well, we can almost blame college a little bit because they've gone to these 3 and 4 wideouts.
Oh, yeah.
And that's come. I mean, you got quarterbacks coming in the NFL that's never taken a snap from under the center because they've been shotgun their whole career. All right, now the Raiders for the first time in forever, it seems like, will not be in Oakland.
Charlie Garner.
Yeah.
Charlie Garner.
Charlie Garner.
Have you been, Charlie? There you go.
Charlie Garner.
Have you been to the new stadium in Vegas?
No.
And the new.
Well, I've seen it from the outside.
Okay. What's your feelings about them being in Vegas?
I love it.
I think Mark's looking good, I think.
Oh, yeah. Something, you know what? When you have a team, I don't care where you're at, that has made such an impact over decades in your city, you never let them go. You do whatever they want. Okay, whatever they want. You do whatever they want. Okay. Well, the idiots think that they're going to replace them. You never replace them. All right. No. Every time people listen, they're better off dynamiting both those things on Hagenberger Road to make sure that nobody remembers the Raiders. All right. Because like I was down in the Bay Area, you drive by, that's the first thing you think about. So going to Las Vegas, I think, was terrific. It was everybody in the administration, everybody with the players, the coaches, everybody involved in a Raider organization is totally excited. Fans are excited, and I think as long as things keep going, you get the influx of people coming from out of town in Las Vegas, not only the base that comes from the Bay Area, LA, wherever they come from, is going to love it. I mean, it's a first-class place, and even though you come from an older place, there's so much history, and you're leaving home, going somewhere else. All right, but now with the Las Vegas, I think it's the best thing. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's terrific. And then bottom line is you got to win.
Well, it's the first stadium I think that they've ever had that they owned. They shared the other one with the A's for years down the Coliseum. USC played there because you coached down there. I mean, you coached in LA and played in Oakland. So I just think it's great for the organization.
Well,
let's talk about the team. John Gruden, year 3 or 4, I can't remember, but seems like he's getting the people he wants in there and hopefully get this thing turned around. I mean, it all starts with that quarterback, Derek Carr. So what's your feelings about the upcoming season?
Well, I love the season because now, you know what, they have all the pieces in place that they want.
Right.
Offense, you have pretty much all your offense set. You've got people you brought in there, drafted, and if you compare them every player by player with, say you go to the major teams, or you go to Kansas City, okay, you go to the Dolphins, okay, well, not the Dolphins, but New England, okay, Baltimore. You can go and compare your players on offense to those players on offense to those teams. Now, defense, you can take that defensive line and compare it with anybody. With the 3 or 4 guys they have in there now. Okay, right. Linebackers question, secondaries question. All right. So now that has been the problem, and that's the thing they need to get straightened out quickly. And if you want to talk about a team getting hurt by not having the preseason games and not having a regular season,
that's true.
Say it's the Raiders defense. But you know what? If you can count on that defensive line to do what they're doing and get the linebackers up to speed, okay, and fit in with that defensive line, then you got something. Then you got something going for yourself. Okay, now you can sort of cover up the secondary a little bit with that front group. But that front group has to play outstanding so nobody gets exposed in the secondary.
Have you seen the top draft choice, Henry Ruggs, at all?
Well, just on film.
Okay.
Just on film, yeah. I mean, the guy can run. It's you know what? You see, to me right now, I don't know. Well, you know, when you're coming out of college, like when I came to college, it was a transition. I mean, you got to be you. There weren't too many people that just came right in and started at skilled positions. Very few.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you had to wait your
Now,
turn.
yeah, now it's almost like professional teams and college teams have basically a lot of the same formations, a lot of the same offense, all that. So to me, the transition isn't that tough. It's just that you've got to be able to play against the personnel.
Right.
Okay, because you're going to go line up. You say, "Oh hell, I lined up here in college for 4 years." All right, but now it's the personnel that you're playing against. Now, are you better than that personnel? That's what it comes down to.
Okay, now, Fred, let me ask you this because, Mike had pointed out the fact that, in the beginning of the show about, your storied career with the Oakland Raiders. And, I played football myself and, I was basically a linebacker. But the one thing about when I played, there was always that one guy or that one opponent that I knew year after year, okay, this guy is just going to be, he's going to be a needle underneath my fingernail. I just know this because of what he does, okay? For me, it was a guy by the name of Michael Bishop, okay? He was a receiver at the time, and he got away with some stuff a couple of years in a row. But by the third season, he started getting tagged. Because in other words, the referees, they see what's going on year after year, and they kind of know, okay, look, you know what, this guy's known for, And then after a while, the third season, he started getting tagged for some of the stuff he was doing. Was there ever a player that when you lined up, to go out for the pass, that you looked across the field and said, okay, look who it is? You know what I mean? It's like, was there ever that one player that just got underneath your skin? You just knew from the moment they snapped the ball, it's like, okay, this is going to be a headache to deal with.
You know what? With me, and he wasn't in the AFC. It was Herb Adderley.
Who?
Herb Adderley, cornerback for the Packers.
Herb Adderley. The Packers, yeah. Now, when he was at Green Bay, tough time. Intercepted a touchdown on me in the Super Bowl. First Super Bowl, played with 66 yards for a touchdown interception. When he was with Dallas, and we played against Dallas, it was just he was the one. Wow. He was the one. Because there's just one guy, like you said. There's always one guy.
Yeah, it's one guy, right?
Yeah, it's like I always felt like when I was playing, like when I went to different stadiums to play, okay, I never did well in them, no matter what. I don't know what it was. I mean, I never did well in Pittsburgh, okay? Never did well in Cincinnati, okay? But I felt comfortable, well, obviously in Oakland, but I felt comfortable in San Diego, comfortable in Denver, comfortable in Kansas City. All right. But there were three or four places I did not feel comfortable in, just the stadium, not much less the players, And that's,
well, it's got sight lines in those stadiums sometimes too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something about it that I don't know what it is. It's weird. I mean, really, it's weird, I mean, you're going out there, you're almost like, it's like I always believe, when you go out there hoping, hey, you might as well just stay in the locker room.
Yeah, because hope doesn't work on the gridiron.
No.
Yeah, right. It's funny because
with Herb in a couple stadiums I mentioned, that's just part of your career.
Yeah, and all the stadiums you played well in were grass fields, because there wasn't a whole lot of turf back then.
Yeah.
And because I remember lining up against the Raiders my first preseason, and that whole secondary, Jack Tatum, George Atkinson, Lester Hayes, and Mike Haynes.
Well, you're going to get grass knocked off. That's the whole
thing. I know. And all they did, and Skip Thomas, and all they did was funnel you in to the Sages and let them knock your head off.
Oh, yeah.
So, but in Lester, thanks to you, Freddie, was wearing that damn stickum all over him. So he'd tackle you, and you'd be like stuck to him. He had it everywhere. Freddie just had it on his I saw Freddie catch a ball on his forearm one time. It just stuck to the forearm.
Oh, yeah. What the hell? What's wrong with that? Hey.
Nothing.
Hey, I cheated. I'm happy about it.
But Lester, he'd tackle you and you'd have it all over you. And it's like, what the hell? And you had to use paint thinner to get it off after the game. I never used it. I just didn't like it. So,
Well, yeah.
and then they outlawed it in 1981, I think it was. So, but another thing Freddie's famous for. But anyway, but there always was that one guy. Mel Blount was that guy for me.
Yeah.
He was like 6'4", 220, and he was a corner.
Yeah.
And I started on Monday night, my first start in 78, and he comes up and bump and run. He's got this horrible breath, this deep voice. He goes, "Where are you going,
arms.
son?" Yeah. He goes, "Where are you going, son?" And I said, "Anywhere you want, Mr. Blount," because we were in 3-point stances back then. So as I said that, the ball was snapped, and I got off the line. I said, well, hell, if I just talk to these guys and distract them, I could kind of play. So Freddie and I were both – Freddie, I think, set the tone for trash talking on the field during the game.
Hey,
I mean,
you only get listen. When you're white and you're slow, you only have a few chances to talk.
That's it. And if a guy was intimidated by Freddie to start the game, by the end he was just a shell of his former self. So.
Well, you know what? Well, the other thing too is like when I came into the league, like probably. I would say my entire career with the Raiders, I did nothing but play on the right side of the formation.
Really?
Yeah. Okay.
What,
so
flanker or split end?
Well, I could be a split end. I could be a flanker. I could be a split end, whatever. But I always lined up on the right-hand side.
Oh. Okay.
Always. Okay. So that's where you really had somewhat of an advantage. Okay, because of the fact that you could go and get so used to playing on that one side and understanding defenses from that one side. And so that was a big advantage. And Al didn't like flip-flopping. We'd flip-flop in a couple formations. But other than that, we always, like for example, Cliff always played on the left. I always played on the right. That's what it was.
So he never brought you over in the slot?
No, I never played in the slot. When I used to go over, say if we had the slot formation to the left, Cliff was always in the slot. I was always the outside guy. If we had the slot formation to the right, I was always outside. Cliff was always inside. Because Al always liked that speed to get through the middle or run across the field or run deep.
Right.
Yeah. I think about the guy who I was telling you who was my nemesis. His name was Michael Bishop, and he was a receiver. Mm-hmm. And what he did was he went to one of the colleges that was in our division, but then the following year he switched. So it was like on one end, I knew I was going to have to see him, but when he switched to Diablo Valley, it's like all of a sudden we saw him more. And the one thing he would do that would get on my last nerve is that whenever he would come up to use a route, okay, he would bump, he would turn on me, and then he would grab me by the back of my collar. Wow, I was like, dude, you know what? Look, finally, it got to a point. I was so ticked off. By the third quarter, I was like, okay, you know what? And I looked at the coach going, Rich, don't do. I'm like, look, you know what? If he comes off this turn and I'm gonna light him up. And sure enough, man, we come off this turn. He grabs the collar, man, and sure, I went right underneath him. See, the thing about Michael, he had these moves and everything was great, but he was light. He didn't have no weight behind it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when I hit him, it was like he would just go up, and that was it, And then when I hit him, it was like everybody went, oh, and then all of a sudden, before I got a flag. And I'm like, oh man, come on, man, this guy's grabbing my collar, I ain't even calling it. But by the third season, he used to get caught by it. So yeah. I kind of understand what you're saying, but the thing that I have said about the Raiders and about Fred, everything that you guys did back in that time, because Mike just got done from talking about a backfield, and I thought, wow, some of those names, you're going, man, that backfield was come on, really? You're going to send Mike into that?
Now, if you call the square in the huddle against the Raiders, yeah, you hoped you came back to the huddle on the next play.
Well, you know what? You know what Al, or what I'm just thinking about some things tonight before I got on with you guys is that, the one thing, and I don't know if teams do this, okay? Well, when I was playing with the Raiders, all the years, Al Davis, when we did the one-on-ones, the defensive back, we have our one-on-one period, all that stuff like that. he made every safety go out there and be involved in a one-on-ones. So they took just as many one-on-ones as the corners did. So they got used to covering people.
Right.
And that was the big thing that helped everything, like George and like Tate. No matter who played for us at safety, they all had to go out there and play as a corner in one-on-ones.
That's a great idea. All right, a lot of people don't know. We mentioned it earlier. Tom Flores threw you your first touchdown. People don't realize he was a quarterback with the Chiefs and won a Super Bowl.
Right.
And then in '78, he was the head coach, and he released you. And I know you guys are still your friends, but you were a 14-year player. I think you coached for maybe 16 to 18 years with them.
18, yeah.
Yeah, and so nobody's more connected to the Raiders and Al Davis than Fred Belitnokoff. What was, I mean, synopsize for people who didn't know Al, and because I'd go to camp and Al would go, "Hey, Mike, come on over," and he'd sit there and talk to me for like an hour, and I said, "Coach, I got to go," and he goes, "I'm not through talking to you." You know, Al Davis says that to you, you go, "Okay." You know, so good. So, you know, summarize what he was like. He was, you know, ahead of his time in a lot of ways. He went to the black colleges, you know, first black head coach, first Latino head coach. I mean, he just was a trendsetter in every phase of the game.
Well, the one thing Al wanted to have on his team were guys that wanted to win. Okay, well, let me put it this way. Guys that wanted to come and work to win. All right, that went out there with such a passion to win that it was unparalleled with anybody else. He had a group of guys that wanted to win more than anybody else. Okay, but Al loved everybody, loved his players.
Yeah.
He was hard on all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, he demanded so much from us. He demanded that you go out there and you play, and you have to go out there and perform. You know, you have to go out there to play to win, and how you win is by your work ethic. So there were very few people, very few guys in my number of years there with the Raiders playing that didn't have a great work ethic. Okay, and some of the guys that were sort of on a borderline, they got used to the work ethic because that's how Al had his practices working the entire time. All right. Now, if you did your job and your work ethic and everything, you had no problem with Al. As soon as you got to the point where and listen to one thing about Al. Al knew players. He knew their personalities, how they were personality-wise, working, all that stuff, how they felt about football. That if you weren't on board with him from that standpoint, you may last a couple of years, but you ain't gonna last a whole long, you know. And then the years I was coaching, it was the same thing. You did your job as a coach. You were well prepared. You handled your players. You didn't treat your players like stars. You know, you treated them like guys that were supposed to be out there working every single day. And he wanted to make sure that everybody that was coaching their group, I don't want to say had control of the group, but the group understood you and you got along with the group and they had respect for you. All right. And as coach, we get back to the coaching side of it. You went to meetings when we'd have meetings, you know, you better be prepared and have everything, no matter what it was. If you walked in that meeting as a coach and you weren't prepared, I'll tell you what, you weren't going to be there coaching very long. All right.
Actually, you told me that story that he'd let you go all year, and at the end of the year, he'd call you in and just call you out on every mistake.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he always wanted you to care about your players, be very honest with them, be tough on them, and go out there and make them play. You know, and that was your job. That was your job, and to make sure that. And the number one thing was this: is that he wanted you to make sure you knew how to keep your players healthy. So that was going through when you got on that field or prior to going on a field in practice or whatever. They were getting warmed up good, everything else like that, and you had them prepared. So you had a good rapport with them when they came out of the field. You had something set up for them to get warmed up. work them into it slowly. If it's running across the field like we did when I had you coaching, run across the field a couple times, weaving in and out and get used to the field and running the routes. And he liked the preparation that you did for your players. And if you didn't warm up your players good and take care of your players, you had a big problem.
Yeah. All right, 2 quick stories. Freddie and I worked together with the Invaders. He was the coach. Charlie Sumner, former Raider great, defensive coordinator, the head coach. So we're in practice one day. And remember Anthony Carter, one of the greatest receivers ever. He couldn't run a route to save his life. At Michigan, they just threw him a quick screen and let him run. So Fred and I are looking at each other go, what the, got in the game, some ball's up in the air, 20 yards from anywhere, and Anthony comes out of nowhere and catches it. Remember, we both looked at each other, this is a fucking gamer, so. And then 83, I'm in St. Louis. We're playing the Raiders at the Coliseum. They'd already clinched the division. They went on to win their 3rd Super Bowl. So I'm talking to Al before the game, and typically he comes up to me and goes, so what do you think of our team? Well, first of all, Al, I'm about to play against them, but I think you should win it all this year. And I said, listen, my contract's up. I'm going to get back to the West Coast. Bobby Chandler, who came after you did, he was Freddie Belitnokoff, the sequel, is going to retire, and you need a white guy to move the chains. So he goes, okay, we'll talk in the offseason. Didn't work it out. It was out a year and then got hooked up with the Invaders. I see Al 20 years later in Oxnard in training camp. Mike, come on. Hey, you're doing a great job on TV, and you were right. I go, what? He goes, I didn't get a white guy to move the chains, and we haven't been back to the Super Bowl since. Steel trap of a mind.
Oh, absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Hey, I tell you, the great thing about him, he knew every player. He knows when you're done with your career, he knows what people are doing after their career, and he knows if they're doing a good job or not because he listens. Let me tell you something. I was around that guy half my life. All right.
Yeah.
He knows everything. I mean, there's nothing he doesn't know. And the great thing about it, he loves knowing people.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. He loves knowing people.
Yeah. He was like your dad.
Oh,
right. For 50 years almost.
Yeah, it's sometimes worse than my dad.
Yeah. All right. A lot of people don't realize Fred was a four-sport star in high school: football, baseball, basketball, and track. And what was your high jump? I saw your high jump. What'd you high jump back then?
6'3", the highest.
Yeah, I was 6'4". So anyway.
Of course you were 6'4". Of course.
I got to get something.
No, I was 6'4 and a half.
Okay, yeah. I might have been 3/4. So.
Okay, guys. First of all, Fred, it was been just an absolute treasure having you on with us today.
Well, thanks.
And we got to do this again because I just love every bit of this. I love every bit of it. But we got to go because our time has run off.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I understand that. Well, Rich, thanks so much. Mike, thanks so much.
Hey, good to see you again.
Have me back again before I get to the senior citizen home. Okay.
Yeah, I know you're hitting from the super senior tees now. So, we'll catch up.
Exactly. You're going down to the women's tees next year in my golf tournament.
Okay. And by the way, you invited me to that golf tournament, so I'm going to take you up on your invitation.
Oh, you better come then.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, you're invited.
Yeah. Anything else
absolutely.
You want to plug? Anything you got coming up you want to plug or no?
No, you know what? We have, something we're going to do. We're going to do the crab feed down in Las Vegas, but Angela talked to the people down there where we're supposed to have it at the casino, and they put all the restrictions, so we're not going to have it this year. So we just got to wait till next year.
Okay. Well, Freddie, of course, as the Belitnokoff Foundation, Tracy's Place of Hope, where he takes care of teenage girls. So he's done a lot to give back to the community, and he's a Hall of Famer. That's why he's a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Go on Belitnokoff.org. That's it.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Say it one more time, Fred.
Just go Belitnokoff.org.
Okay. All right. And there you have it, folks. You guys want to go there and donate, please do. Fred's been doing this for a long time. Him and his wife have been doing a fantastic job. And again, Fred, having you on today has just been a treasure. I have enjoyed every single minute.
I enjoyed it too.
Yep.
All right. You guys take care.
Okay, so this is GameFace on the Bleav Talent Network. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be on next week, and you're welcome to tune in. However, if you do, you better have your GameFace on.